Hi, Mr. Mayor.
Hey, Matt, how's it going?
Good, good. So should co-chair...
Bro, they're asking him if he condemns Gustavo. Jesus Christ. Oh, my God. Everyone in the media is... They just have knives out, dude. Condemn this, condemn this. Do you condemn Gustavo? Do you condemn Hasan Piker? Do you condemn your wife? Zohran Mamdani, do you condemn your wife? Why won't you condemn your wife? Divorce your wife, Zohran Mamdani! This is what the New Yorkers need to know about. Jesus Christ, dude. Yes, the dude lives in a brownstone. Who gives a shit? Oh my God, who gives a shit? I cannot believe that this is like a serious point of contention. Oh my God. Oh my God. It's crazy. There's that one girl who's not even like, is she even DSA? I think she like recently joined DSA. She like worked for Brad Lander and they were destroying her on New York Post. They're like, this is Lululemon. Anyone that has an opinion that is to the left of Ronald Reagan gets the Adolf Hitler treatment from American media. Except, actually, that's not true because American media was quite favorable in their coverage of Adolf Hitler for the longest time, actually. They treated his dangerous form of anti-Semitism as simply a way to win favor with elections. It's not real. It's not real anti-Semitism. Don't worry. That's the way the New York Times reported on him. Nuts. DSA rich girl Lululemon defends wealth. Like, I don't even think this person is anything but a social democrat. Is this person even like a communist or anything? Who cares? Who cares? Why do I know about this person? I should never have to know about this person. It doesn't make sense. And you shouldn't know about me either, by the way. If you're like 75 years old, you should not know what my name is, okay? It's so insane how hostile the media is. I mean, it's expected, but goddamn. Hopefully, this will be somewhat of a wake-up call for many leftists who love chirping at the sidelines, okay, about all of the, leftist content creators or influencers or media platforms or leftist leaders that get routinely attacked, that they too will be in the fucking crosshairs at some point. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's because of what we are advocating for, okay? That's why they're attacking us. And you're a idiot if you actually fall for it. That's why I can't stand it when dumb on TikTok will be like, Hasan Piker is quite problematic and he should just go away. Why? Are you going to be the new guy? Go right ahead. You think they're not going to own you? You think they're not going to ritualistically humiliate you? You think that they're not going to find your old posts? Leftists that left bash are stupid, okay? They're just dumb. They don't understand. We've never had a moment in the spotlight like we do currently, okay? I only have a lot of experience about this because I've been the primary enemy of anyone and everyone that believes that Nancy Pelosi is a communist, basically, has actively attacked me for the last decade. The reason why they don't attack you is because they don't know about you. They don't care enough about you. You haven't made an impact yet. Maybe one day when you do actually make that impact, they'll come after you too. The Rupert Murdoch's media team at New York Post sent a goddamn drone to my house, take a aerial photo of the front of my house. They blasted that shit all over the New York Post. And there are dumb out there who are like, Hasan Piker is actually being propped up as a psyop, dude. He's not as radical as I am. And it's crazy that they're treating him as radical. Let's attack him.
Stepped down after lying to the New York Times, lying about his job to get a full-time gig with DSA and failing to support union workers.
The D in DSA stands for Democratic, and I leave it to the organization in its own voting of who it is electing as its leaders. And I think what we've seen with Gustavo and what we've seen to any others who are in the fight for a fairer, more affordable New York is that their focus is on making this a city that everyone can belong to, and I welcome anyone who's committed to that.
It's the same shit over and over again. Hasan Piker is in a $2.7 million mansion, dude. Oh my God, how dare he? It's like, you wouldn't give a if I was talking about Sigma Grindset. If I was like, capitalism is awesome, you'd be eating my dick from the back. You would be like, he is a legend. Look at this broy podcaster who's talking and defending capitalism. You're a dog for capital, okay? Remember when Fox News put that Reddit mod on to embarrass them? People don't understand the media's capability to destroy you. I know. The fact that I've been able to consistently push for this message that was seen as horrifying, repulsive, terrifying for like the last decade until finally we've been able to breach collective consciousness a little bit as the primary source of enmity of everyone that hates socialism, everyone that hates liberals, everyone that hates progress for the last decade without killing myself means that I know what I'm doing.
Do you condemn the actions and lying about these details?
Thank you very much.
Jacobin writes, Branko Marcetic from Jacobin writes, centrists despise Hasan Piker more than they want to win. Democratic Party centrists, well-funded and single-minded war on socialists is leading them to take increasingly contorted, absurd positions against figures like leftist streamer Hasan Piker. The Democratic Party primary might be over, but the Michigan Senate race is still somehow the leading theater in the ongoing civil war for the Democratic Party's future, and an instructive case study in how the party's left-diverse centrists plan to maintain a grip on the party's future at a time when their voter base is moving away from them. 3 weeks after the Democratic primary was settled and progressive insurgent Abdullah Sayed won the party's Senate candidacy over his centrist Israel lobby-backed opponent, there's yet another Hasan Piker news cycle gumming up the race. This time, Piker is being accused of threatening or calling for violence against Jews, specifically for showing an image of the pro-Israel Michigan State Senator Jeremy Moss, and then warning that if American Jews continue to tie themselves to Israel, eventually someone's going to come around and take action not against the state of Israel, mind you, but against American Jews. Al-Sayed has already publicly disavowed the comments and distanced himself from Piker. A host of centrist Democrats who both have it in for Piker and were distinctly unenthused about Al-Sayed in the first place have turned these comments into a controversy, given Al-Sayed's earlier decision to campaign with a left-wing Twitch streamer. It's quite a twist in the race, even with the primary over, and the party's voters now focused on beating the hard-right Donald Trump loyalists on the Republican ticket. Mike Rogers, the party's centrists, are still effectively attacking their own candidate. The clip that they and others are responding to is not surprisingly deliberately edited to make Piker's remarks sound as offensive as possible. In a longer, unbroken video of what Piker said, he's specifically responding to two things: a user who describes themselves as an anti-Zionist Jewish person struggling to change the minds of others at their temple, and the news that Moss was withholding his backing for Al-Sayed until he fulfilled the nebulous condition of demonstrating some serious outreach to Oakland County's Jewish community. Here's a fuller transcript of Hasan Piker's remarks. Look, the anti-Zionist Jews in my community, you have a very tough job ahead of you, where you have to go back to your communities and try to get your elderly relatives to understand that this connection between Israeli and Zionism that is expressed over and over again through a lot of these Jewish institutions is teaching people the idea that Jews are monolithic. And this is it's a very dangerous mode of propaganda. And you want to know why? Because people don't f with Israel any longer. And if Jews in America keep putting this idea out there that they're singularly invested in Israel, eventually someone's going to come around and take action, not against the state of Israel, mind you, but against American Jews. Now, is Oakland County's Jewish community in unison making this demand of Abdullah Sayed? No, of course not. But if there isn't opposition from Jewish figures in this community that are loud about the divergence between this representative and their own desires, then the media narrative will set in. Even if they don't realize this media narrative presents Jews as single-minded and singularly invested in the continuation of the Israeli apartheid. I don't know how many different ways I can explain this. I don't know how people don't recognize how dangerous this predicament is, how dangerous this is for Jews. You're running around basically tying your entire identity to a country that'll inevitably be seen as Jewish ISIS. And you're saying, as Jews, this is all we care about. You're making anti-Semitism worse. Perhaps it's because of the truth of that sentiment that has frustrated so many Zionists in the media, both Zionist Jews and Zionist Christians alike. It's an extreme stretch to describe Piker's remarks as an incitement or justification for violence and bigotry against Jews. The basic point he's making, that the tendency by pro-Israel voices to conflate Jewishness with lockstep support for Israel makes Jews less safe, has been made by a number of Jewish voices, including Ezra Klein at the New York Times, David Cleon at The Nation, Norman Solomon at The Guardian, union organizer Molly Kraft, and Hannah Arendt nearly 80 years ago. This controversy also comes as Al-Sayed's Republican opponent, Mike Rogers, getting a free pass from both Al-Sayed's centrist Democrat critics and the national media for surrounding himself with a panoply of unsavory characters. A campaign campus coordinator who promotes white supremacists and joked about expelling Jews to North Korea, another member of his student outreach team who defended young Republicans who had been caught making racist jokes and saying they love Hitler, and a faith coalition leadership team made up of homophobic extremists, an anti-Muslim bigot, and one pastor connected to a church sex abuse scandal. It is a remarkable scenario for Democrats concerned with bigotry to entirely ignore these distasteful and alarming associations held by a member of the opposing party and focus their attacks on their own candidate instead. It is a sign of the importance that centrists see in winning what they view as an intra-party civil war. It is a fight they seem to see as more important than winning a Senate race and control of Congress. El Sayed's primary win was a shock to the system for Democratic centrists, involving not just the victory of a pro-Palestine Medicare for all supporting progressive in a key battleground state, but also one in which the Democratic Socialists of America didn't endorse yet play a key role. This put establishment Democrats in a bit of an awkward position. They have long claimed the left habitually refused to vote blue no matter who come the general election, and so paved the way for GOP victories. This wasn't actually true. It's been one of the Democratic center's most reliable go-to attack lines against their left flank. With the tables, you should write an opinion piece for the New York Times. Brother, if you think the New York Times would ever allow me right now, as I am the recipient of enmity from all aspects of the pro-Israel movement, if you think the New York Times would allow me to defend myself with my own words on the opinion editorial section right now, you are the most delusional person on the planet. They absolutely would, friend. I have tried in the past, and they told me to fuck off, okay? Maybe today, with the additional attention, they might do that. But one Michigan rep, Hillary Skolton, had preemptively refused to back El Sayed against his Republican opponent before he'd even won the primary, and she now continues to do so, despite being called out for it by one of El Sayed's own former rivals. Days after his win, Third Way, a Wall Street-funded organization that advocates for Democrats to adopt Republican economic policies like cutting Medicare and Social Security, announced a $15 million campaign to attack both the DSA and candidates who work with the group, even if it meant costing the Democrats swing seats. They specifically name-checked El Sayed as one of their main targets. I will tell you this much, okay? I will tell you this. I understand as a part of my job, I understand how media narratives work. I understand how propaganda works. This is a big part of what I do. I try to explain to you guys how like certain trends, certain metas are followed in mainstream outlets. And there's this this united front approach that sometimes establishment media takes. I never thought that I would be the recipient of this. I never thought that I would be at the heart of this united front approach coming from centrist pundits, right-wing Democrats, the entirety of the Republican Party, in direct coordination with the GOP, as they attempt to undermine a very important Senate seat, that the Democratic majority in the Senate hinges on Abdul's victory. It is insane. Meanwhile, the week before this saw several stories about prominent Democrats publicly abandoning the vote blue no matter who ethos. A group of prominent Michigan Democrats announced their support for El Sayed's GOP opponent for purely factional reasons. If El Sayed were to win the general election in this important swing state, we fear the far left and anti-Jewish elements in the Democratic Party would become dominant, including in the imminent 2028 presidential race, they wrote, not long after the news that some Democratic bundlers are raising money for his Republican opponent. Several other Democrats have similarly publicly refused to back El Sayed, including Moss, the state senator, demanding El Sayed make outreach to his local Jewish community. It's worth noting that El Sayed has the support of a number of prominent Jewish figures and groups, both in the state and outside of it. So there are two things happening here. Do you expect a complete disavowal from Abdul? I don't think you guys understand. Abdul El Sayed could literally say, I am so sorry for ever being around HasanAbi Piker. It doesn't matter. Okay? It's not going. Their job right now is to undermine his run. The job of establishment Democrats here is to literally aggressively attack him and make him unelectable so they can prove a point. Okay? So they can maintain the idea that Abdul is far too progressive. Left populism cannot work in a state like Michigan. You should see this as a direct attack against Abdul El Sayed. A direct attack from the Republicans, as we know, but a direct collaborative effort by pro-Israel Democrats and also anti-Medicare for all Democrats. Because while I don't agree with Abdul on everything that he's said, I mean, he's a capitalist after all, okay? I understand the importance of his victory. I understand it for the necessity of maintaining a Senate Democratic majority, which once again is not going to be entirely comprised of allies, as we have seen over and over again, but it will be a Senate Democratic majority nonetheless. And it is an absolute necessity to start gumming up the works of American fascism. Okay? I am much more adult about this and much more pragmatic about this than the way centrist Democrats are, because centrist Democrats foolishly think that they can withstand 2 more years of a lame duck Trump presidency. They're stupid. Okay? I do not believe that we will be able to withstand 2 more years of a lame duck Trump presidency where there's no Senate majority, there's no House majority. So they can start establishing committees, start establishing hearings, and start prosecuting the Trump administration's corruption. Centrist Democrats do believe this because they're dumb. They believe that it's better for the Democrats to lose than to win with the aid of the left. It is suicidal. That's what it is. They're not dumb, they're paid. No, they're dumb because they think that these same fascist forces won't come after them. That's why they're dumb. They think, oh, as long as we collaborate with the Republicans, they won't come after us. They'll just take care of our commie left flank. They're stupid. They think their complicity with the fascists will take the crosshairs away from them. Eventually, they will be in the concentration camps by our side. That's why I say it's dumb. Yes, Weimar 2.0 is right. Appeasement does not work. You have to fight back. Abdullah said, distanced himself from Hasan Piker's comments on American Jews. I'm not a fan of Hasan, but how was his comment wrong? If you conflate the interests of Israel with the interests of Jewish diaspora, you'll get more anti-Semitism. Hasan is correct here. They were like, meh, close enough. Not remotely. Right-wing Israeli interests have a lot of centrist balls in vices, and they will turn every time they see a left-wing threat to their power. The comments in the article that Hasan made on stream aren't even controversial. If you have anything above lukewarm IQ, I guess they're taking it and running because he said someone will take action against Jews. But even in the full context of the quote in the article, you can obviously tell he's not saying someone should do so, but that the narrative that American Jews are a monolith when it comes to Israel will cause harm if it's not spoken out against. Also, for what it's worth, this article is literally what he's getting at with the quote, that it's using to frame him as anti-Semitic. Conflating anti-Zionism with anti-Semitism is extremely dangerous and what gets American Jews targeted in hate crimes. The writer of this article is literally being anti-Semitic by trying to paint Hasan as such. No, it's really good that that pro-Israel folks are doing a number on the argument that anti-Semites represent. That anti-Semites say what? They say Jews are organized. They say Jews control the media. And they say that Jews, through organized Jewry, will flex their muscle over and over again. And that they're single-handedly invested in the protection of the Israeli state and its ambitions, no matter how belligerent, no matter how it diverges from American foreign policy. So it's very cool when so many prominent Democrats will then come out aggressively posturing against a prominent critic of Israel who also happens to combat anti-Semitism and then routinely say, no, you don't understand, Jews are monolithic.